Hello, Scream Demons, and welcome to the Screams from the Basement podcast with Sam and Casey. This is a bi-weekly horror podcast in which two horror fans discuss all things horror, including news, recent watches, horror collectables, and more. I am one of your co-hosts, Casey, and Sam is not here for this episode, but we're still going to be screaming this week. Sam, we miss you, buddy. We will see you next time. Where one of us will win a bet or we'll both lose. Either way, we're winners in the end. I'm a winner today because we do have a guest, and it is my wife, Kayla, joining us on the show. Kayla, hello.
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 Buenas noches.
I don't speak Spanish. We're not going to be talking Spanish movies. No. We are going to be doing the show pretty much as it usually is, aside from Sam, but we're recording here in the home office where there is Sam from Trick or Treat, so I feel Sam is watching over our shoulders this entire time as our cat tries to get in the room. Separation
anxiety.
Yep. He definitely has that. But we're gonna keep doing our usual stuff. Kayla's gonna be joining me, talking about the news from the last couple weeks. What we've been doing, aside from one movie that I will save for Sam. We'll talk about that next time. And then we'll get into our main topic, which is inspired by Kayla being a guest here because it is a movie you showed me, at least one of them, and then I showed you the other one that we're going to watch. The first one is Last Shift, which is from 2015. And then the second film we'll be covering in our double feature, which does have a theme to it, is 2013's The Sacrament. So we're doing a double feature that is basically, I don't know, a horror movie riff on real life cults.
Yeah.
I think is pretty much what it is. What it has to do with any movie out right now, it doesn't.
They're just great.
They're great movies.
Terribly great.
They're great movies that we want to talk about, and we do have some Last Shift news in the cellar news as well, so it all comes together beautifully. All right, well, I'm gonna jump into cellar news then. We had quite a bit of news. You sent me a bunch, and I cut a lot of it. I don't want to talk about who is it? Jojo
Siwa in a horror movie.
Siwa in a horror movie. I don't care. I'm not gonna watch it.
Attack of the Killer Bows. Other people would get that. You don't.
Is that what it's called?
No.
Oh. I'm like, all right, maybe I'll watch it then. Killer Hair Bows.
Attack of the Killer Hair Bows.
I would watch that.
Dazzled.
No, the news we're talking about first here, we got some double feature Stephen King news. First up, HBO has finally ordered the It prequel, Welcome to Derry, which is supposed to take place, I believe, in the 50s or 60s is what I was told, or what I saw, for the prequel. This has been long rumored, pretty much since the second part 2 came out.
It's very exciting.
I don't know. I'm excited.
I hope it's good at least.
I don't think they went far enough back. In my opinion, like I would like to see Pennywise further back in history. So like I want more movies to do prequels, but I want them to go further back in time, like Prey did, where it was before Frontier Times, pretty much at the beginning of Frontier Times, and then there's a Predator there. I want Prey or Pennywise to do the same. I want to see him in like, I don't know, the 1500s.
That'd be awesome. Off-topic question: OG better or remix better?
They're both good. Neither is great. I said what I said.
Oh my God, blasphemy!
Yeah. Both problems I have are the same thing. It's the part 2 with the adults. Don't care.
Oh.
TV movie, I really like the kids. It Chapter 1, I like a lot more than It Chapter 2. But both Pennywises are great.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for this. I think this will be cool. We're supposed to also get HBO's Salem's Lot, which me and Sam talked about, a remake of that. So HBO is hopefully going to be doing some cool King stuff. Speaking of Stephen King, next up we have Stephen King. A new documentary about Mr. King is coming out called King on Screen, which is coming later this summer from Dark Star Pictures, which is going to talk about all Stephen King movie adaptations.
I'm definitely going to see that.
No, we're not. We're not going to watch it at all.
Yeah. I'll watch it alone, I guess.
No, we're gonna be watching this for sure. This comes after. Speaking of it just got the TV movie. It just got a documentary about it. We haven't watched yet. I think it's just called Pennywise: The Story of It.
I think so.
Yeah,
something like that.
So I think this one's all about Stephen King. I hope they touch on all 11 Children of the Corn movies. I hope they talk about every single one of those in great detail. No, I think they're probably just going to cover the big King adaptations, like The Shining, Pet Sematary, Green Mile.
I want to know where King gets his mojo from.
His mojo?
Yeah. Where does the mojo come from for him to, push out some of these amazing books/movies?
Money.
Money?
Money. Lots
Everything's fueled by money.
It's true. I don't think there was a whole lot other information on that besides I'm sure they're just going to cover the big Stephen King stuff, which is cool. More behind the scenes Stephen King is awesome.
We need it.
The next piece of news here is Eli Roth's Thanksgiving is finally happening, with Patrick Dempsey already set to star in the movie. This is the fake trailer that's Eli Roth made for the Grindhouse double feature. It is a Thanksgiving slasher movie directed by Eli Roth. What else could you want?
It's finally a Thanksgiving movie.
Yes.
Versus Thanksgiving.
We don't just have Thanksgiving anymore. We don't have... What else? There's not very many. Blood Rage is a 80s slasher set on Thanksgiving.
Is it set on Thanksgiving or does it involve Thanksgiving?
No, it's set on Thanksgiving and involves Thanksgiving.
Okay. Then it's a Thanksgiving movie.
Yeah.
Can't just be on the day. It has to involve it in some way.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm glad this one is finally happening. I don't know if it's my favorite trailer out of those, but it's definitely one of them. And when I first watched Grindhouse, I was like, man, I want this to be a movie. Just because I don't love either Grindhouse movie, Death Proof, or what's the other one?
You're on your own on this one.
Planet Terror is the other one. I still want to see Rob Zombie's Werewolf Women of the SS. I still think that one needs to happen after this. So we'll get Thanksgiving, hopefully, maybe next year, Thanksgiving, and then we'll get Rob Zombie's Werewolf Women of the SS after that. Hopefully.
We'll see.
This is a big talking point for horror fans because scalpers got to horror finally. They're not just after Taylor Swift tickets. They're after Scream because there was the Scream. They were popcorn buckets, and I think a drink.
Yeah, I think they had the cuts and the plushes though too.
And a plush. And most of those sold out if theaters even got them. Cinemark drastically underestimated how much horror fans want horror merch, which is crazy because they have a million Marvel things every single time. How do you not expect horror fans to do the same? So Cinemark is now offering pre-orders through the end of March for their Ghostface popcorn buckets that they were selling in the theaters. Same price as they were, but they're only for pre-order and they're not shipping till August.
Boo.
So by the time you watch Scream 6 on Blu-ray for the 30th time, then you can use your Scream popcorn bucket.
Okay, the popcorn bucket's pretty awesome. Though. You can eat popcorn out of Ghostface's brain, essentially.
Yeah.
It's pretty sweet.
Mm-hmm. I'll imagine it's Matthew Lillard's head and I'm just eating.
Why would you want to eat his brain?
I kind of want to eat Matthew Lillard's brain. Shaggy's brain.
Yeah, why would you want to do that?
I just do.
That man is great.
He is. Yeah, we're going to get this. So.
Probably a couple of them.
Maybe. So yeah, order that on pre-order. I doubt Cinemark will make any more after this.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Which seems insane.
Horror kind of dies after the movie comes out.
Next up, we have Blumhouse. Some news on Blumhouse. They are getting into the video game world. So Blumhouse, the studio behind such films as Paranormal Activity, Megan. What else? What else did they put out?
I'm trying to think.
They put out like every horror movie. Get Out was a Blumhouse movie. Yeah, like any modern horror movie that's not A24 or Warner Brothers. It's
The Black Phone.
The Black Phone, the Halloween remake. So they are getting into the horror video game realm, which I would assume would include something like a Megan online game, or their what?
They do Insidious too.
They do Insidious.
They need to make a game of that.
Insidious game.
We need to scare the crap out of your pants.
Yeah, we need a lipstick demon Insidious game. I would watch that.
Lipstick demon.
Darth Maul.
Darth Maul, yes. Mm-hmm. Lipstick demon, I don't know about that.
That's what he's called. That's what James Wan has called him. Why? I don't know. All
I can picture is like a tube of lipstick charging at people.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Like Buffalo Bill putting on lipstick, or Steve Buscemi and Billy Madison putting on lipstick, chasing
Would
people.
You wear this? I'd wear this.
Glad I called that guy. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is cool. I think most studios are probably dipping their toes in video games at least a little bit. And horror video games are huge. I mean, we're obviously getting the Backrooms, which isn't a video game, but it's been turned into multiple video games. So I think that type of first-person horror experience is coming from Blumhouse.
It's awesome. I think more people need to watch and or play more horror games.
Yes, it is. It is one of the only ways I get scared anymore.
Yeah. The jump scares are pretty good.
They are.
They just happen out of nowhere in those.
No, it'd be cool.
What?
If we got a Last Shift video game.
I think I would physically die from a heart attack from that.
Set in a police precinct, and you're the main character.
You can have people crawling up in the ceiling and everything
gross.
like that.
Speaking of Last Shift, if you guys didn't know, there is a reboot, remake, retelling of Last Shift. Which Last Shift is the movie we're going to be talking about in great detail in a few minutes, but it's kind of this under the radar cult hit that people discovered, I don't know, 5-6 years ago, and now is getting a sort of sequel, sort of retelling, I guess. It's the same team that was behind the first one, and they're basically going to do the mythology again, is what I understand.
Either way, I'm looking forward to it.
But the news is that it has a new title. It's not going to be called Last Shift. It's going to be called Malum.
Why?
I don't know. I would have to look it up. I would assume there's a reason. Maybe it's the cult. Maybe that's the name of the cult. I don't know. I think this movie will deal more with the cult.
The cult in the movie? Or the payments?
Yeah, but you probably can't use that. That's like... We'll talk about
it. Okay, fine.
But, yeah, Malum. We're excited for it, obviously. We're doing a whole podcast pretty much about Last Shift here. So, yeah, I think it should be fun. It should be good. It's going to have some more money behind it, which is always good for horror movies. And I like that it's like a retelling of Last Shift.
Same.
Kind of just a fresh start, which I think is what they're doing with the Strangers movies too, that they're redoing. But that's it for seller news. Quite a bit to talk about. We didn't talk about Attack of the Bows, Attack of the Killer Bows. We didn't talk about it. We'll save that for when Sam.
Or Constantine, or I Am Legend, or the cancellation of Tremors.
Those I don't believe the Tremors one. I don't know where they got that news.
Man.
But Yeah, Constantine's getting a sequel, and I Am Legend is too.
That's what I
think
found.
that was the news, right?
It's interesting.
Yeah. Michael B. Jordan is supposed to be in the I Am Legend.
I Am Legend is supposedly supposed to take place after Will Smith, his character, like survives, so it's supposed to pick up from right where it left off.
I've never seen
it. Yeah, that movie was the first technical horror movie I watched with my parents. Yeah, I had nightmares for weeks.
Yeah,
big time.
It's Will Smith. I didn't watch it.
He barely talks in the movie.
That's fine. It's still him.
The people that vampires or whatever the heck they are terrifying. They're rapid breathing.
Well, I don't think we've been doing I Am Legend, but this is Sam's usual job here, so I'm going to do my best.
What are you doing?
What are you doing, dude? So most of these are ones we've watched together. There's one movie that we did watch that Sam did request that I waited to talk about.
I was wondering why this isn't here.
Until he comes back.
You'll have to wait and find it.
You'll have to wait. I'm not going to say what it is, but I watched it. I didn't care for it, and it is one of Sam's favorite horror movies. So
I could pass on that. I don't think I'd ever watch it again.
Yeah, I think both of us thought the same thing. But some other movies we watched, Sam is going to be so mad.
Sorry, Samuel.
I'll throw this one out. I'll throw the ones I watched without you on here first.
Okay.
I'm continuing my Puppet Master watch. I'm trying to watch them all. I'm closer. I have three. I have three left. I watched the first in the Puppet Master Axis trilogy, which is their sort of like they did like the Halloween 2018 thing where they did the first movie, and this is like a direct sequel, except the first movie doesn't even get to happen in this. They immediately stay in Nazi Germany time frame, and the puppets fight Nazis.
Interesting.
It's not great. It's very low budget, but it's better than most modern full moon low budget movies. It at least has something to it, but it's boring. The puppets kill people in the last 10 minutes, and it leaves off on a cliffhanger.
The whole premise of Puppet Master is that puppets are supposed to be killing people the entire movie.
They kill people in the last 10 minutes, and that's it. The rest is a boring war drama.
Ew.
Without any action scenes of war. It's just, I should go fight against the Nazis.
Those movies drive me nuts.
Yeah.
War movies, no thank you.
This was one of them. The other was a movie I was very excited to watch in the theater. Lucio Fulci's The Beyond was playing at our local downtown theater, the State Theater. One of my favorite cult movies of all time. You refuse to watch.
I refuse to watch that.
It is, I would say it's probably my favorite Lucio Fulci, and to watch it on the big screen was awesome. The score is incredible. It was booming throughout the theater. I think a lot of people were experiencing it for the first time, and to hear people's reactions to tarantulas gouging someone's eye out, and a dog going after a woman's throat, and a guy terribly shooting zombies at the end of the movie was awesome.
Last time I let you choose a zombie movie, I regretted it, so I'll continue to.
Because it was Zombie.
Yeah.
Which is the same director.
Yeah, hard to pass.
Yeah. I was happy to watch this on the big screen. It's not for everyone, that's for sure. But
I'll
it's
stick
for
to
me.
my paranormal.
What I was told after was, when we were talking with our movie group after, was this is 100% a Casey movie. I'm like, yes, thank you.
Good.
Couple other ones that we watched. I'll kind of stick with that kind of genre of movie. We both watched, me for the second time, you for the first time. Somehow you watched it all in one sitting. We experienced, immersed ourselves, painfully made it through. Cannibal Holocaust. My second time watching this movie. Your first time. The first time I watched it, I had to watch it in 2 parts. There's a scene with a tortoise. And after watching that the first time, I stopped the movie and I'm like, I'm done. And I went back to it the next day. You somehow, this time, made it through the entire movie of Cannibal Holocaust. What were your thoughts?
Yeah, you only need to see it once and or don't need to watch it in general. There were some parts there where I was like, I'm questioning being a human now.
Yeah, it does. It makes you question what you're doing with your life while watching the movie. I don't like to say I like the movie.
Yeah, I don't think you can say that.
I don't think legally you can say you like the movie. But I like the movie. I don't like the
disclaimer. No, he doesn't.
I don't like the killing of the real animals. It's gross. It's disgusting. But that's the point. It's terrible. Why would you ever do that? Just get a prop.
But you
special
like the
effects
parts
person.
Of the mutilation of a woman.
Well, that's fake.
Either way.
But again, that's my biggest problem, and I feel gross watching those. I feel gross watching this entire movie. But what it commentates on, I like.
That, and it proves its point.
Yes.
It's meant to be gross. It's meant to gross you out. If you are grossed out, there you go. Movie well done.
It is the definitive exploitation movie. That's 100% what it is exploitative. But I like that it is. I mean, it's a commentary on U.S. media. It's a commentary on us invading other countries or going to other countries and trying to push our ideas and ideals on them while also treating them as lesser than. So very much a response to Vietnam, but
it's an icky movie.
It's an icky movie. You need to take a shower after watching.
Yeah, and or just rub your skin raw.
Yeah.
Take your skin off.
Speaking of Raw, this is a movie directed by the director of Raw. We finally watched Titane. This was a movie that came out, so it was 2020, I believe.
I think it's 2020.
Or
2021.
This is the movie where the lady sleeps with the car. That's what everybody
twice
knows it as. Yeah.
Twice.
The second time with a fire truck, though.
Yeah.
Spoilers for Titane. I didn't like this as much as Raw, but I liked it.
I've never seen Raw, but honestly, this movie, it wasn't terrible. It made me uncomfortable on more than one occasion. So if you are okay being uncomfortable and kind of being like, should I be watching this? Should I be closing my eyes?
This is the proper exploitation.
Yeah. There's some scenes where you're watching and you're like, oh gosh.
Yeah, this was not what...
look away.
The plot was not what I expected this movie to be. So it took some adjusting, I guess, to get to that. But once I did, I liked it a lot. I think it has a lot to say. It's one of those movies that you, unlike Cannibal Holocaust, you need to watch multiple times.
I think so. I think if you watch it more than once, you'll understand. I think, not understand the message, because I think there's multiple messages weave throughout this movie. And it's hard to kind of find the definitive answer of what it is.
Yeah. I think there's a lot about gender identity in it and being your true self wrapped up in this movie where this lady sleeps with a car and a fire truck.
Yeah.
So, if that's your bag, watch Titane.
I think the Born This Way is kind of what it's saying.
Next up, we watched a brand new movie which released on Screenbox. Lot of hype, film festival hype around this movie. It is the found footage movie, The Outwaters. I've been seeing a lot of people comparing it to Skinamarink, which I don't think is fair because Skinamarink is very much an experimental movie. This is just a found footage movie, and I didn't care for it. I don't think you did either.
I will not watch this movie ever again.
It's 20 minutes too long. It feels a bit, I don't know, for me it feels a bit like we're trying to showcase
I think it's trying
what we can do as like a musical artist or as actors, and the second half, not even the second half, this last 20 minutes, 30 minutes, the horror ramps up and it gets crazy, which is fine, but everything leading up to that is such a bore. A lot of people, again, compare it to, like, the Blair Witch, which is, like, the pinnacle of found footage, and I don't think that's fair, because unlike Blair Witch, this movie, for the first, like, hour, sets up characters that you don't care about and no lore for what you're about to experience. And for me, Blair Witch, my favorite part of the Blair Witch Project is the first part, where they're explaining all the different theories of who's the Blair Witch, or why are these woods haunted, who's Rustin Parr, why are these kids standing in a corner in the basement. That's my favorite part. This movie's like, no, here's this mediocre singer making a music video.
The whole premise is freaking making a music video.
Yeah.
And if people compare this movie to Blair Witch, I'm like, you need to get your eyes checked. Because this movie, it is a movie. It is one that has really lackluster character development. And it tries to do the found footage, but the issue with it is it's a found footage through like a pinhole. So I hate the movies where it's like all you get to see is this little bit and you don't get to see anything else, which drives me insane. Because a little bit you got to see, you're like, oh, I only got to see that for like 2 seconds. I don't even know what it was.
Mm-hmm.
Half the time you're like, I don't know what that was. I don't know really what's going on.
Yeah.
I didn't like it. Yeah.
No. I mean, if you're interested, it's worth a one-time watch, but I don't think it's anything to write home about.
Yeah, and people were saying it was like making people sick watching it.
Well, that's any found footage movie, because it's shaky and awful.
Oh, I never thought. I thought it meant like it was repulsive.
No. They need to watch Cannibal Holocaust.
Or Green Inferno.
The last couple things we're going to talk about, we had an entire weekend watching only parody movies. We watched, I think, 6 or 7 in 2 days. Why did we do that? We're only going to talk about the horror ones, which were some of the better ones that we watched. Let's start off with the bad one, first of all. We watched Repossessed, which is the Exorcist parody movie, where Linda Blair comes back as basically a parody of Regan from The Exorcist, and Leslie Nielsen gets to play the priest that has to exorcise her. Yeah, this is an awful movie. It's one of the worst movies I've ever seen. There's a reason, even buying this on Vudu, I wasted $6 doing so. The image quality was still horrible. It hasn't had a proper transfer on that. So that should go to show like what the care of this movie is. Feels very TV movie. The jokes are atrocious. It feels like someone knew Linda Blair and knew they could get this movie made. So let's write a script around that we can be a parody of The Exorcist, and then let's really try to get Leslie Nielsen, because he's the parody guy in everything, and he's fine, but this is one of the worst parodies I've ever seen with Leslie Nielsen.
I think the first 10 minutes is the only time I actually laughed at the movie. And it was literally a spoiler, sorry. You don't need to watch it.
Spoilers for Repossessed.
Yeah, you don't need to watch it. I'll just tell you. It was, Reagan, like, screamed at her children. I put quotations around children but yeah, she screamed at her children. It was pretty funny on that.
Yeah, there is a Jesse Ventura and Mean Gene cameo at the end where they do commentary on her exorcism, which I thought was funny for a second, and then I'm like, all right, there's nothing actually funny besides it being Jesse the Body Ventura and Mean Gene Okerlund.
You don't need to watch it.
No, but on the other hand, we watched 2 of the better horror parodies of all time, Scary Movie 1 and Scary Movie 2. We probably watch these 2 at least once a year.
Yeah.
At least. I think the first one is one of the best parodies of all time. I think there is a few things they parody in it that just don't work. The Matrix one being the biggest, where I'm like, this is so unnecessary. Why is this in this movie?
And Charlie's Angels.
That's 2.
Dang it.
Part 2 has quite a few scenes like that, watching it this time. I think Scary Movie 1 is far superior to Scary Movie 2. But Scary Movie 2 has the best Exorcist parody of all time.
Agreed.
And I think it's the funniest scene in any scary movie, where James Woods is the priest that comes to exorcise the girl.
I get 1 and 2 confused all the time. They kind of blend together in one movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought the funniest scene to me was, I don't know if it's 1 or 2, is when the girl's crawling through the doggy door.
Yeah.
Running away from Ghostface.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah. Everything with Ghostface is
really
funny.
When he was blazing up, that was funny too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think these are super funny movies. Second one, not as much watching it this time.
The ending it's not as funny when you watch it. And that's the Charlie's Angels scene.
Yeah, the Charlie Angels scene, the
running away from the skeleton.
Yeah, the wheelchair race in the hallway is
Which
awful.
I still never understand.
I don't
why.
know. There's a terrible basketball commercial parody in the middle.
Cup phone.
Yeah, the cup phone. Yeah, it's just not as funny as the first one. They might have used all their resources pretty much in that first movie for all the really funny ideas, besides The Exorcist.
Probably.
Is that it?
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right. Well, that is it for what we've been doing. Again, we'll save one of them for when Sam comes back. Dun, dun, dun.
You and Sam can have fun with that one.
Oh, we will. All right. Well, then let's transition. Let's make our way to our main topic, our main double feature for this episode. I'm going to start it off. We're going to go in release date order because I want to save Last Shift for last.
Thank you.
We're going to kick it off with 2013's The Sacrament. What?
It's good, but it's bad.
The Sacrament 2013, directed by Ty West. This is a found footage movie. It stars Joe Swanberg, AJ Bowen, and they play 2 Vice journalists who are invited to do a story on a gentleman who approached them about his sister, played by Amy Simons, who has joined this group that lives in this place called Eden Parish.
She goes to rehab.
Yeah, she says it's rehab, but it's this mysterious group, this mysterious village of people that's led by a very charismatic leader, simply just called Father. The Vice journalists soon realize that the community is far from a paradise. It's far from a drug rehab center. So The Sacrament 2013. I think first things first, like we said at the top, both of these movies are semi-based or have references, similarities to real life cults. And this one here is not just similarities, it is straight up just a retelling of the Jonestown, of the Jim Jones cult. It is 100% just that with a little spin on it.
Remember, kids, don't drink the Kool-Aid.
Do not. I watched this a few years ago. I'm a Ty West fan. I like all his movies. And this is one, again, found footage. I like the genre a lot.
I do too.
A lot of people hate it. I like it. And that could just be because of when we were growing up watching horror movies.
Probably.
Because
honestly,
that was the height of found footage when we were in middle school, high school.
Paranormal Activity. That's what sold me on it.
Paranormal Activities. This movie here, As Above, So Below.
Nah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a bunch. There's Grave Encounters. There's so many out there, and this is one of the most unique ones because, most have this hook as to why is the camera there. You look at like Taking of Deborah Logan, which is also very similar to this, where it's a documentary crew
5-star.
shooting, all this footage. Here it's the actual Vice. Somehow got the Vice to sign off on this movie, where the two journalists work for Vice to tell this story. So I think that's the biggest difference from the actual obvious Jonestown is Vice was not around then, and there's not Vice journalists in Jonestown.
That and like most of these the found footage too, it's like a nobody and or like funded educational purpose group versus Vice is a known journalist group.
Yeah,
that's actually getting paid to do this versus having to raise the money for it and whatnot.
And I think that's one thing that kind of sets this, I don't know, a little bit above, definitely above your average found footage movie, because it has that type of realism in it. And
it's based off of a well-known cult.
Yeah, and I mean...
or religious organization.
As soon as you see... If you don't know anything about what the movie's about, and as soon as these guys get to Eden Parish, is that what it's called? Yeah?
Yeah. Yep.
You immediately know, oh, this is what this movie's doing.
Yep.
The basic layout of Eden Parish is pretty much the same as Jonestown was, where it's these small little huts kind of surrounding this main community area.
Yeah, it's secluded essentially in like its own vicinity. There's really no easy way to access this. So if you're coming from like an outside source, you can't really get to this place unless you've been invited or you know of it or talk to locals or something like that. It's not just something you can just be like, oh, I'm going to go visit this place.
Yeah,
that's not how that works.
You're not just going to stumble upon it, or it's not just going to end up in your neighborhood. You need to be seeking this out. This movie is one of those movies, I don't know if they have a proper term for all these guys that work together. The two Vice reporters, Joe Swanberg and AJ Bowen, and the director Ty West, they all work together quite a bit. They all work together on the VHS, first two movies. You're Next, which has Ty West is in it. So is AJ, and I think Joe Swanberg's in that one too. Like, they all work together. They all met at like film festivals, and they're like, hey, you make movies I like. Hey, you make movies I like. You want to make movies together that we like? Okay.
Hey man, I like you.
I like you too.
Hey brother,
let's make a movie. You like Jonestown? Oh, I like the story. Okay, well, I have an idea. Let's just make that into a found footage movie. I brought up the sets for this movie. They built everything in this movie. It's just an open field first, and they built everything, which is impressive for a found footage movie to have that much put into it.
Yeah, it's a massive area. At least what it looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Area. Do you know where it was shot?
I don't.
No. I don't know either. I was hoping maybe you knew.
No, I don't.
Because it looks like it's a secluded area.
Mm-hmm.
And or they like plowed down the grass or something like that, or the wild terrain in order to build the set.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know, when you look at, we've watched documentaries on actual Jonestown and stuff, and the recreation here is really good. It's pretty darn accurate to everything with Jonestown, from the sets to where it's located to where these guys have to travel, to the place being guarded by people with guns, even though it's said to be like this paradise sanctuary. And that's kind of the first red flag we get. It's the first red flag that the two reporters get, is that something is not right here. That it needs, that this place needs to be guarded with machine guns.
I agree on that. It's weird. Like, why? It's supposed to be like the promised land or whatever, and yet you roll up and there's, guys holding machine guns. Like, why? What's the point? Like, when I first saw it, I was like, oh, maybe they're protecting themselves from, like, the wildlife or something like that. But then, you watch the movie and you're like, huh, nope.
Mm-hmm.
And not the wildlife they're trying to, protect. They're not trying to protect anything.
Yeah, and that's I mean, that was real life Jonestown, too, unfortunately. Of having the same kind of guards keeping people in and keeping people out at the same time. So like I said, this movie follows the Vice reporters are brought there by this guy who's looking for a sister. It's actually pretty similar to the Evil Dead remake from the same year.
Which is an amazing movie.
Yeah, and it deals with kind of similar things, at least in the beginning. The setups for both movies are pretty similar, as going to a secluded area, someone's trying to rehab, and then stuff starts to happen.
Right.
Definitely different stuff in this movie than the Evil Dead movie.
And the sister doesn't look like she's on drugs.
No,
in the beginning.
Not right away. She is definitely infatuated by something else. And we'll get to him. We'll get to him. I think he's the best part of this movie. Maybe we'll just get to him right now.
I was just gonna say, let's go.
Because we get to meet him pretty early on with them being there.
Well, they had kind of a big build up for him too. It was everybody was talking about Father.
I guess that's true.
Like no one, like you didn't see Father until he had this big introductory of an interview, and he comes out and everybody's cheering for this guy, and then out emerged this old guy, I guess. He's older.
He looks like an old guy that shops at your local grocery store.
You know, he reminds what he looks like? Like a prison warden.
Mm-hmm.
Like he looks like a warden when he emerges through the crowd. He's got the big old kind of aviator looking sunglasses.
Mm-hmm. He has the Jim Jones sunglasses.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Vice guys are offered an interview, quote unquote, with Father, played by not Jim Jones, Gene Jones, which is the actor's name, which is quite ironic. The best part of this movie. Again, the movie does a good job of like building him up as like, oh, this big deal. He's the main reason why everybody's here. And as soon as he shows up and does this interview with the Vice team, it's just, I feel like they do, where you're kind of just sucked into everything he's saying.
100%. And
which, I mean, I think that's the biggest thing with this movie, is trying to be in their in their shoes, not in their foots.
I want to be in your foots.
Where's the foot? No, it's trying to be in their shoes. And it does a really good job of that, of just putting us in their shoes and putting us, I guess, in the shoes of his followers too, where it's like, yeah, no wonder these people fell for this guy's BS.
I literally said that during the movie. Because Gene Jones gives this a really good, you said it was a one take?
Yeah, that's what
speech.
IMDb said. He did this entire interview, quote unquote, all in one take.
It was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
He did a really good job, and like when you're listening to him talk, it generally does feel like you're put under his spell, because you're listening to him and he's very captivating about it all, and talking about like the promised land. He wants all this good for his people, and he loves his people, and essentially feeding them bull crap. But you believe it. You can definitely believe it at first.
Yeah, and he has just a way of speaking where you're like, I believe everything. I believe everything you're saying.
It's kind of soothing.
Yeah, even if you, the guy speaking, doesn't believe everything he's saying.
Mm-hmm. He has a very calming voice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he never really talks elevated. Even during the interview, when he was getting asked some questions where he wasn't really like, I don't want to answer that. He never says that. He just kind of roundabouts the question and never actually addresses it.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, they do kind of, after his big interview, which is kind of one of the big scenes of this movie, which I forgot happens like pretty early in the movie. It's like less than halfway through the movie. he gives this big speech. They take the two Vice reporters go off and they're like, yeah, we didn't get to ask any of the questions we wanted to, but we didn't know how to. They basically said, like, we were so engrossed in what he was saying, even though what he was saying was kind of nonsense. But at that scene, that's the turning point for the movie.
Correct.
This is where earlier in the movie, the two Vice reporters asked this mother-daughter duo for an interview, and the mom was very, very strange with her response of, no, we're not going to talk to you guys. We were told not to talk to you guys, and kind of runs off with her daughter. That daughter then shows up, who is mute. We will find out why later, but she is mute and hands the two guys a note, and
it says, "Please help me."
It says, "Please help me." Dun dun dun.
What a twist!
Yeah, that's. I mean, that's a big turning point for the movie, where these guys kind of fall under his, like, yeah, there's nothing weird going on. We understand why all these people are here. Then they get that note and they try to figure out what the heck is going on. And they very soon realize this place is not an actual sanctuary. It's not a safe place. They soon find out that people are being held against their will. They are corrupted. They are brainwashed. Some of them are looking for a way out, and that's what we find out this mother is trying to do. She's just looking for a way out, at least for her daughter. And the reason the daughter is mute is because of the beatings she took.
Yep.
From
they show like
from the guards.
Yeah, they show the daughter's. It looks like part of her back and like her neck, where it's like she has like a big old scarring. It looks like fish hooks all over her neck area. Is what the scarification that they had done to her.
Yeah, and this is where... What I find interesting is I forgot that the guys only spend one day there.
Yeah.
Because they get off the helicopter that drops them off at, like... I don't remember. It was like 11 in the morning or something.
Yeah, tells them...
8 o'clock the next morning.
Yep.
So they're there for less than a day, I guess. And that's where some of the... I think the second half of this movie isn't as compelling.
It loses its steam.
As the first. Yeah, it loses its steam, I think, right after the...
After the speech.
The speech.
Because like a whole lot of nothing really happens. It tries to be like, this is gonna happen. Like, the spoilers are okay.
Yeah.
So the brother gets kidnapped. I'm gonna say kidnapped because no one knows where Patrick went. Everybody was looking for Patrick, and Caroline, Patrick's sister, who is Gene Jones, the father's side wench, I guess.
I don't know.
We don't know. There's weird.
Kind of his number 2.
Yeah. She's like, I don't know where he is. She walks the Vice crew over to Patrick's cabin, and she's like, oh, wait, I forgot. He's having a threesome in this community and set up by father. Which I was like, what?
It feels a little improv-y.
No, 100%.
Right there. Not just the character, but like the acting feels a little...
Fake.
Not improv or mumblecore, like, which is what these guys do in some of their movies too.
No, I was like, that was bad.
I don't think, honestly, I from what I've read on like IMDb, there was a script, but again, they were allowed to improvise a lot of this. The guy who's like the cameraman is actually running the camera most of the time. Yeah. Because he's a filmmaker too.
That's funny.
So you pretty much just had him run the camera for him.
Here, do your job while in the movie, please.
Yeah. Yeah, the second half of this movie definitely is not as strong. We get like some sort of tense moments where the guys are sleeping. But not really. It's just kind of rushed so we can get to the next morning. Yeah.
Yeah, like everything was waiting for the next morning, which was Act 3.
Yeah, and that's just Jonestown. The final act is just Jonestown. Things start to go awry when the Vice people are about to leave. the mom with the daughter is like begging for them to take her child with.
Along with the whole town, essentially.
Yeah.
No one wants to be there anymore.
And they're not allowed to leave. And then that's when the Jonestown stuff happens.
You don't know what Jonestown is. It's essentially like the poison Kool-Aid. Where it's like everybody sacrificed themselves. Or not sacrificed, suicide.
Yeah. And it is one of...
Mass suicide.
Yeah. One of the most horrendous things any human has done to other people. And I mean, that's what Jim Jones did to people. He manipulated them so much that they would drink this Kool-Aid they knew was laced with, I think it was cyanide. And they drank it. And this movie shows all of that, and I think it's really lazy how it does it.
Yes.
In my opinion.
Agreed.
Because the Vice team and the brother, they all get knocked out by the guards and stuff. That's when Father tells Caroline, you need to film all this. Why? Why does she need to film all this? Oh, because the movie needs to happen. That's why. I think it would have been better if they would have just set the camera up on one place on a table and just shot it all from that one angle. And that I would find that far more interesting if they shot it that way instead of it just being like, she got a lot of footage. She did a good job. She got a lot of coverage. She was showing, she was getting different angles. She was doing a really good job on covering a bunch of people killing themselves. And it's like, why is this way? And I think this movie, again, I like this movie a lot, but I think there's a more interesting movie where you can do the setup of Jonestown, but maybe something else happens in the end.
I feel that this movie also at the same time, like Jonestown was such a massive event. When you're watching this movie, you know, they don't have as many actors and actresses that they actually need for Jonestown. Like Jonestown, the actual footage, like if you look at aerial photos of it, it's masses of people stacked on top of each other. It's children, it's babies, like it's everybody in this community. If you had a child, you were giving your child this Kool-Aid. And it was thousands of people. And yet in this film, it's only showing like, it looks like 30 people and they're scattered all over. Versus in Jonestown, it literally people were rushing to get out. And then another thing with this issue too was in Jonestown, based off of what I've read and stuff, is if you were trying to run and get out, you were getting shot.
I mean, this shows that.
It doesn't show it necessarily,
it's like two people running. Though.
Yeah, but that's it. And then it's just the guys go around, the security go around, you know, shooting people that they find that are hiding or whatnot, and that's it. But like Jonestown, the people were like rushing to get out. Everybody was fighting to get out versus, you know, in this one, everybody's just sitting there arguing. It's like, why are you arguing? You could all make a mass rush towards these two security guards. Not even security guards, but...
Yeah, and the helicopter that is waiting for them, the pilot gets shot, which I believe was like in Jonestown too. I think that was an actual thing that happened. Was like a news.
I have no idea.
I think like a news group was there, and their pilot got shot, and then that was kind of the set off to everything that happened there. So I guess it's not far off from what actually happened in real life and stuff. I only had one other thing to mention during this finale. I mean, obviously the two Vice guys, they get away, and that was the end of the movie, and it's kind of treated like a real event, which I think is weird at the end, where it gives like this title card of this many people.
Oh, yeah.
Died and stuff, and it's like, you don't need to do that.
No.
It's not a documentary. But I get that's the feeling that this movie's going for. But the last thing I had was the sister Caroline, who murders her brother. She makes him drink the Kool-Aid, which again, that scene felt very improv again. Then she lights herself on fire, and there's a fire stunt in this movie. And I'm like, oh my God, there's a fire stunt in this found footage movie. It looks good. I thought it looked really good.
The fire stunt looked awesome. The brother drinking Kool-Aid, though, she injected brother with a syringe in his neck which I'm guessing is just pure cyanide. Whatever it was for him, the guy who was portraying Patrick had, like, convulsions and then, like, just kept jerking convulsively and then slowed down his speech and died. So she killed her brother, but it was kind of lackluster.
Yeah, again, I think it felt a little improper.
And then Gene Jones, too, don't forget. He shot himself.
Yeah, he takes the Jim Jones, the coward way of...
You make everybody else drink the Kool-Aid, yet you can't take the Kool-Aid yourself, sir? They're just gonna blow your brains, which just sounds awful, but, you know, there's a lot of misfires that happen with, when you try to blow your brains like that. Like, some people survive from that.
Mm-hmm.
Hence the reason why you get the people, you know, their jaws completely destroyed, because that's what they tried to do. So it's like, he had, like, not like 50% chance of life, but it's definitely a cop way out, because it's like, yeah, he's not necessarily suicide like his followers. It's I'm gonna do it this way, just in case. Maybe I'll survive.
Or that looked painful to drink, that I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, I mean, it ends with very similar aerial footage as the real life Jonestown, and then, like I said, the credits come up. I like this movie. I think it does a good job of retelling Jonestown with a spin. I think there's a far more interesting movie if you would have done setup of Jonestown and it turns into something else. I don't know what that is. Maybe it's like he's an actual monster or something like that. But I don't know. I think there's a better version of this out there.
100%. I think this version of Jonestown is big time rushed. Like, I think it runs at a sprint. It doesn't really slow down. Like, the character development's lackluster, and you know the guys are Vice and stuff like that, but you don't see, like, for instance, in the Outwaters, you meet the people that are behind the camera a little bit, get to know them, and then, you know, stuff goes crazy. This one did not have that.
Yeah, the one main one has a kid on the way.
That's it, though, but you find that out, like, during the interview versus there's no build-up, really. It's just like, oh, hey, these guys are going to go film this group, and then immediately are immersed into this. There's no, like, prepping for the trip, nothing like that. Sorry, that's my opinion, though.
Yeah, they could have easily done them prepping for the trip, and that's where you meet the wife, and you see that she's pregnant, and you don't have to have him talk about it.
Yeah, everything was by just talking.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm pregnant, by the way. Oh, we have wedding bands. We're all married. The camera guy even had one.
Yeah.
You didn't know anything about him.
No, he was just...
Patrick, you only know he has a sister.
Yeah.
That's it. It's like these are your main characters, and yet we don't know them.
Yeah. What would you give this movie out of 5?
Out of 5, probably 2.
2?
Well, and here's my thing. I'd rather go watch an actual documentary on Jonestown than watch this again. Because it's like, Jonestown, it happened. And I'm like, this one kind of doesn't do it justice, I don't think.
Yeah.
That sounds terrible, but...
I give this movie... I still give this movie 4 out of 5.
4 out of 5?
I like this movie a lot. I think it does a really good job of telling Jonestown. I think it's probably too high. Probably. Realistically, probably it's a 3.5 star movie.
Maybe 2 points.
On the high end. But I'll give it a 4. I like this movie a lot.
I will never watch it again.
I was going to say, this is the second time watching it, and I'll watch it again.
You have fun with that. No thanks.
But that's The Sacrament. Next up in our double feature is from 2015. This is Anthony DiBlasi's Last Shift.
It's a beautiful movie.
The Last Shift. This is a movie that, like I had said earlier, kind of flew under the radar. People discovered it through streaming services. The basic plot of this movie is the movie follows a rookie cop on her first day on the job, who is following in her father's footsteps of becoming a cop, and she joins the police force In this first night, she is at the old police station on overnight shift, and she's basically there to direct people that walk up to the door to go to the new police station just down the street. But during this night shift, she begins to receive phone calls from this girl in trouble, and they can't figure out where these calls are coming from. Meanwhile, spooky stuff starts to happen in this police station, and a homeless man shows up too to add to the kind of chaos that is supposed to be a peaceful night on this last shift.
This movie's fantastic. This is the scary movie that I tend to show my friends that they're like, oh, what's a good scary movie? And I'm always like, have you seen Last Shift? And they're always like, no. And I'm like, well, there you go, start there, and then we'll go from there. Because it typically will scare the crap out of people.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to describe this movie, is that it's the movie where if people ask you, well, I'm looking for a scary movie to watch, but I've seen, like, at least modern movies. Like, I've seen The Conjuring, I've seen Sinister, I've seen Insidious, I've seen all the Paranormal Activities. What else should I watch instead? Well, you should watch The Last Shift, and that's this movie. It's very simple, but it's also very effective. For me, this is a weird analogy, but hear me out. I think this movie plays a lot like a comedy. Not that it's funny, but like in a good comedy, like Wayne's World or Dumb and Dumber or Billy Madison, Tommy Boy.
I get where you're going.
It's funny. Every couple minutes there's something funny going on.
And then it follows one person. And there's character moments, and then it's boom, jokes. Character moments, boom, jokes. Like, there's never a dull moment in it. Last Shift is that you get the basic setup, you get the character alone, scares start to happen like 10 minutes into this movie, and just don't stop until the end. Yep.
And I think that with any great comedy, that's what you should have, is just jokes throughout, and you have your little character moments sprinkled between them. Great horror movies, I would say the same thing. You gotta have your scares pretty much throughout the entire movie to be one that's like, oh my god, this is terrifying.
When we rewatched this, we rewatched it with one of my friends. And I love the fact that at the end she's like, Kayla, this movie is giving me anxiety. And that's what this movie kind of does. It puts you on edge and it holds you on edge because you know a jump scare is going to happen and or a scare is going to happen. But this movie also does a really good way of the music play. It'll give you that reassuring music of like, oh, this is a happy scene. Everything's going to be okay. And it's like, psych. No. Mm-hmm. Which I absolutely love that.
This movie, I don't know what the budget was on it, but it's very, very low. It has to be pretty low budget. I would say $1 million or probably less than $1 million on this budget. But I think what makes this movie not show that is, one, it tells a story in a singular location with pretty much only one character to follow, which is, a great start. It also has a very immersive environment that it's in. It's set in a police station, which there is a lot you can do with a little there, because you do have kind of the entryway, the call center, the hallway, the holding cells, the break room, the back rooms, where all that like evidence and stuff is. And this movie does a good job of like keeping you in that singular location, but while also expanding that single location. And again, the main character, like, she has enough that you understand who she is and why she's there. Her dad died in the line of duty. We know that pretty much from the start of this movie. Her mom does not approve of her becoming a cop. But you later find out that her dad is directly tied into what's going on in the police station.
I have a did you know? So the actual place that this movie is shot in is a abandoned police station in Florida. So it was an actual police station they shot this thing in. And it's funny because if you read any interviews or stuff like that with the director, when they are shooting all of it, they mention the fact of like when you're the movie, you see that straight and narrow hallway, like getting all the equipment and stuff like that to go into this hallway for those scenes and just trying to fight it. So most of it was shot with like the cameraman holding the camera physically, not like, you know, the real card or whatever they normally use. Yeah, fun fact for you.
Mm-hmm. And I mean that this movie does a good job of showing all that. I mean, this movie proves that you, for like filmmakers, you use what you have, and it's like, oh my gosh, I can get access to this abandoned police station. What story can I write that's set in an abandoned police station? You don't ever leave. You're in the parking lot at the beginning of the movie. And you don't leave after that. The officer steps outside for one scene. Two scenes. But you never leave.
No.
As the audience member.
Yep. I love the simplicity of this film. Because it's not like you don't have to track all that. You get to track like what's actually physically happening, and you don't miss anything. You know, this is probably my 4th or 5th time watching this movie, and every time I do watch it, I hear new things, but it's never nothing you like physically see that you've missed. You hear it.
The sound design in this movie is insane, especially for a low budget movie, which is one of the hardest things to do is get great sound. This movie does an incredible job. You are immersed in it throughout the entire movie. And again, it's like the scares. The sound is constantly there. You're constantly engrossed in it. From the use of like the phone ringing, or to you hear people talking, to like doors creaking. The end of the movie, especially the final scene, where you have, we should get to probably why this place, like, why is this place spooky? Why is this police station spooky? So like the backstory of this, again, we mentioned with the Sacrament, it was about Jonestown. This one, and the movie calls it out, is a Manson family riff.
Yep. Where
it's the Payman family, which is like an actual demon name. Payman.
Well, I ain't saying that anymore.
I think it's spelled differently or something.
Okay. Either way.
But it's John Michael Payman, which is, I mean, John Michael, that's such a cult leader name.
100%.
Have that.
You know what's really bad too? It's very American name.
Oh, yeah.
And biblical. John Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
And he leads the family, again, Manson, which is consisting of young girls, kind of in this hippie mindset. They call the cops pigs all the time. They make like oinking sounds.
Yeah, pigs squealing.
Yeah, and he's everything they look up to. This one definitely more so than like Manson leans into the occult stuff in this. Even going so far as he has a pentagram like carved into his face, which is a terrifying image. It's kind of the image you get to see everywhere if you look up this movie.
Sometimes. When you pull up the IMDb, it's not the first image. I was looking for the cover. Sorry, random spiel. I was looking for the cover on IMDb, and I was like, what the heck is this? And then it took me a second, and I was like, oh, never mind. I know what this is.
It's like the crawling woman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, she has a specific name, and now I can't remember it.
Crawling woman.
No. It is,
It's like the girl on the phone, isn't it?
It's like Brains Bashed Betty.
Oh.
Yeah. If you look it up, the name they gave her was like, or Baseball Bash Betty. Something like that, where she's just a ridiculous name. It's not just Crawling Girl. It's literally like Brains Bashed in Betty. It's terrible.
And that's they're the group that's haunting this police station. The reason they are is because on one night, the police finally got the upper hand on them. And that's where our main character, her dad died in the line of duty. Trying to arrest the family. The family ends up at the police station. They all hang themselves in one of the holding cells, and it is, I guess, pretty well known knowledge in the police force that this place is in fact haunted. So good luck, rookie, on your first night. You got to stay here in this haunted police station by yourself.
I love the way they drop that too. So they don't like come out and tell you straight away. It's she's on the phone with a dispatch at the news center, and he's like, just between you and me, like this place is known to be haunted.
There's some spooky shit going
Yeah.
on there.
It's not even like blatant like you're off when she first walks in, it's like the lead sergeant whatever who's having a tantrum, which I still never understand.
I think he was being haunted.
Okay, and that's what I've gathered too. But anyways, he doesn't even come out and tell her. He's like, I ain't gonna tell her. She's on her own. Like, don't call me is what he says too. Unless the place is on fire, you're dying.
He's over it. He's done with it. He's had enough of these mother effing ghosts in this mother effing police station. That's the way I took it. Is like he was being haunted, or he was seeing things before she showed up, and that's why it's kind of weird right away. He asked her like, turn around.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that's why, because he wants to make sure she's real and she's actually there.
When I first watched it, I thought the sergeant was just being a perv and he was trying to check her out.
Oh.
I was like,
maybe he is. I
ew.
don't know.
But yeah, that was my spiel on that part, I guess.
The phone calls that she gets do a good job of telling the backstory.
What I've heard from multiple people when I was pulling research for this film was that everybody hates the phone calls. They hate how many phone calls there are, and I'm like, why? Like, it's a simple movie, and that's what's telling the story. And they're like, oh, we hate the phone calls. We'd rather just, them act it out and have all these people there to do it. And I'm like, no, the phone calls, it's minimal. It's awesome.
I honestly think the worst... I think there is bad parts to this movie. Not many, but I think the two scenes are when she is talking to someone in person.
Yeah.
So phone calls, like, positive on those, I think they do a good job of telling, like, the backstory on one of the girls until you figure out, oh my god, maybe she's a part of this.
Mm-hmm.
And then she comes out.
It was a ghost.
But the two scenes I'm referring to is, one, there's a scene where she goes outside, or steps outside, and there's a woman smoking behind the police station.
Yes, the hooker.
Yeah, it's not necessary. I don't think that scene's needed for the movie. I think she's supposed to be someone who is still part of the cult. She's supposed to be one of the girls that is lingering.
No. I don't think so. But...
Or she's another vision.
So...
I don't think she's just some random woman. If she is, then really cut that scene, because that is unnecessary.
That hooker scene, what it is when it first shows her outside and it shows like the officer about to go back in the door, you can see the hooker watching this black SUV pull off. And then when she turns her head, you can see the black eye, which then tells you she was like beaten and like going to the police station essentially as like a source of security. Like the pimp's not going to beat her while she's sitting there on the step or whatnot. So I think that's why she was there, because she's working.
Yeah, I think it's a pointless scene.
She
gives backstory. She gives backstory on the family, but we already get that backstory in the movie.
Yeah, but
from other things in the police station, I think those things work better. The phone calls, the videos that she sees, even just visions. The other cop that shows up too,
Officer Price.
I like that one more. It's perfect false sense of security when he shows up. You're like, oh, he's just this nice cop, but he's going to explain what might be going on here. And then until he turns around and you see his brain spilling out of the back of his head.
So I'm just going to give spoilers on this too. I'm trying to bite my tongue, but I can't. One of my favorite scenes with Officer Price is supposedly so Officer Price, the illusion the first time is good. It's giving the false security. And then the second time he pulls around in the movie, he's essentially takes like his fingers, makes a finger gun and blows his brains out, and it says something, which with like a sinister grin on his face, which then tells you that it's been, the payments are the ones that have been causing all these illusions and are showing you all these illusions. And creating the illusions is what I was trying to get at.
Yeah.
They were him the whole time, and
yeah,
he's one of my favorites.
He finger bangs his own mouth.
Yeah, exactly. It makes me think of Family Guy.
Or South Park. It's the name of their
finger bang.
Finger bang bang you. But I mean, the movie does. I like the little scare of him, like after you see like his brains spilling out. The music picks up and you see him go around the corner and he just disappears. He's gone. I like that. There's great stuff in the hallway with, again, great sound and great visuals. There's like pictures of the crime scene that just cover like the entire hallway.
Starts with 1.
Mm-hmm.
Starts with
that
1
just
and
like
gets
floats
3,
in.
and then she looks away at the picture, and then it's all of them flood in.
There's, I think, the big scare sequence of the girl crawling down the hallway. I think that's kind of an iconic, I mean, obviously an iconic scene now because that's the poster.
Mm-hmm.
And you just hear like bones cracking and stuff. It's gross.
I was gonna say, I think my favorite jump scare in this entire movie is the under the desk part.
Again, with someone crawling.
Yeah, well, not even that, she was just sitting there.
Mm-hmm.
The way the music amped that thing up, man, they sold that scene.
Again, that's a payoff to those phone calls. That's why I think people who don't like them are crazy because it pays off with a genuine jump scare.
Yeah, you'd never get that scene. One scene I do not like in this movie, and I understand what they're doing, but I don't think it's executed very well. It's a spinning chairs scene.
Oh.
I cannot stand that scene. It's literally just the chairs are going across the room, and the main character, she's looking at each of these different TVs as a Payman's family member is talking about that night, and, you know, the interview and stuff like that in the police station. And all these office chairs, like there's 3 different office chairs, and they keep going from different corners, and every time they turn, there's a Payman in the chair. Why? Mm-hmm. Like, why did you need the chairs? It doesn't make sense.
I don't know.
I hated it.
I like that scene.
It makes me dizzy.
It does.
It disorients you big time.
Disorients you. The sound design, again, is great.
Yes.
That's what it's supposed to do, though, is disorient you. I like that scene.
I like the sound.
I like all the stuff in the holding cell is really good.
Yeah, the holding cell is pretty good. The sound with those chairs I love because it like bounces from ear to ear.
Mm-hmm.
And then another part I hate is the hair and the food. What was the point of that?
I think she just put hair in her food. Like she was making food
like,
earlier and...
They made it so dramatic. As I'm like, oh my gosh, is this a victim's hair? And no build off, nothing. Like, it doesn't even address it, nothing.
I think it's just hers. She went to Subway and...
She went to Subway, made her own sub on the other side.
Yeah, I guess. That was her job before this. Subway.
It was gross.
It was gross, and again, I think it's just kind of there needs to be a scare or spooky thing happening every 5 minutes of this movie.
Yeah, pulling a hair out of your mouth, that's pretty freaking terrifying, man.
There's, I think, an underrated scare in this. This entire movie, I guess, is underrated, but there's one where she is, like, visiting her dad's old locker, and she pulls out this picture of her and her dad that just so happens to be there. It's okay. Movies. And then she puts it back and steps aside, and all the lockers in the locker room have opened. Great visual, because, again, it's catching you off guard, giving you a false sense of security of, like, oh, here's this kind of tender moment, and then we'll get to the jump scares and the scares later. No, it's like right after that scene ends, it's like, nah, you're not safe. You don't get to have a cool moment with your dad.
The music in that part is my favorite false security part. Because, like, if you listen to the music, it's that happy-go-lucky, like, good tone. And then, as soon as she turns, it's the bump.
Mm-hmm.
Instant. Love that.
The ending of this movie. Do you have other stuff in between that?
Yeah. Okay, I wanted to mention that I had read somewhere that... So, there's a scene where the officer, she gets knocked out by a payman.
Mm-hmm.
I still can't tell if this payman is a real person or not. I want to say it's real, but it doesn't show anything else on this. So she gets knocked out, and then this payment person like blows their brains out. But I guess the blood used in this movie was actual like animal blood. Like that's what I read, and I was like, "What?"
I believe it.
It's believable because it looks really well made.
Again, I like that scene a lot because it's like I don't know if that's real or fake.
And that's the point, because the officer herself is like, I don't know if you're real either. But that's what I wanted to point out. It was the fact that they might have actually used real blood, but I'm not 100% sure on that. Oh, it's Bashed Face Betty.
Bashed Face?
Bashed Face Betty. That is the name of the girl that's crawling. Yep.
Yeah, I definitely think this new one's going to go into this family.
From what I've gathered is whenever you have like a reboot, typically, depending who makes it, the reboots with like the new advances in technology and stuff like that, the scare scenes typically are better. And I'm hoping, and my fingers are crossed, that when this reboot comes out, the movie itself, like, it lives up to the first one. Because I know it's not a sequel, it's a reboot. So I'm hoping at least it's like, we added more for you. Here's some extras. And
yeah, I think it'll do... I would think the story is probably this... The backstory is probably the same with this family, and it'll focus on them, and I think it's just to include more stuff with them. More money, more locations, more people, more actors.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything before the ending?
No, I was going to say something about the movie. I was going to say it was, I love the fact that most people don't know that this movie exists because it was one of those movies that was missed during the release. So I'm trying to remember the big names that came out the same time this movie came out.
So this was 2015. Horror was in a weird spot because it was after like Paranormal Activities. There might have been one that year, but
I think
before the big hype. This was right before like A24 really took off too. But it was right around when streaming was starting to pick up. And this movie, I don't think ever definitely didn't get a big theatrical release. I don't even know if it got a theatrical release at all, besides maybe like wherever it was shot. It probably played in a theater or something. And this movie, I don't know, probably on Netflix ended up.
It was. That's where I watched it.
I was going to say,
in my dad's basement.
I was going to say, it's probably one of those Netflix, when Netflix actually carried good movies, underrated movies, besides their own
shitty movies.
Yeah. Yeah, you can say shitty movies.
Thank God.
A lot of Netflix movies are. Nowadays, they're like, we don't even do horror. Like, let's not promote any horror movies on our, even though...
It's a joke.
Even though Fear Street was one of the most watched things besides Stranger Things, which is also a horror, whatever. Netflix, get your
shit.
Get your shit together.
For my sake.
But this is one of those movies where it's one of those like discovering it on streaming.
Mm-hmm.
You showed it to me.
Mm-hmm.
I bought it on Vudu, so like we have it.
I think I requested you buy it.
Probably.
I think I begged you. There's like 3 movies I've begged you to buy on Vudu.
Yep.
Because I can't get them anywhere.
This, Autopsy of Jane Doe, and Freddy Got Fingered. I mean, those are the big 3 we had to buy on Vudu.
No. Mine was the Possession of Hannah Grace as well. That was one. That one, this one, and the Autopsy of Jane Doe. Because that is a masterpiece.
And Freddy Got Fingered. The masterpiece that is the Tom Green classic. The finale of this movie. So, setting up throughout the movie is that there's going to be this, like a hazmat team is supposed to show up and pick up all the like stuff from the evidence lockers and stuff. And they call early on. They're one of the phone calls in between like the girl calling. Like, hey, we're going to be a little later. It's going to be closer to like 4 in the morning instead of like 10 p.m.
Yeah, it was like 10 to 4. It was their window, which was ridiculous window.
Yeah, I'm like, we might show up tonight. I don't know. Maybe
the guy,
not.
Oh my God, the guy that literally calls Joe is his name sounds like that. He's like, we might be there. We don't know.
4 a.m. or not. I don't know.
He literally says lady too.
Lady.
We don't know, lady.
I'm
knee deep in shit right now.
Yeah, I wonder what. Maybe that's what the new movie's going to be. Like what the hazmat team was doing before.
That would be awesome.
What they're cleaning up, and it's just something really boring. It's just like a bunch of crap.
Literal
crap. But the ending of this movie is pretty much her, like, she's sick of this. She thinks that the Payman family that is still alive is coming, which again, I think maybe that leans towards the scene we were talking about, like the interrogation scene.
Yeah.
Where the lady blows her brains out. That maybe it was real, or real enough that she thought, oh my God, there's other family members coming.
Yep.
And you see these people come in. Looks like they're wearing like ski masks and have guns. And they're like, we're going to get you, Peg. And they keep yelling that. And again, the sound design is...
It's awesome. It bounces
the
around
only
the
thing
room.
I can compare it to is weirdly enough, the Batman Arkham games. Because when you play as Batman, you only hear certain things from a certain distance. They have like a certain echo. And the way these people sound like just thugs in Gotham City.
That's awesome.
Like, we're going to get you, Batman. We see you. And you have to kind of sneak around. And that's what this is. And this is entire one take at the end of the movie where you're like following her through the hallways and as she's shooting people. And again, that's why it feels like Batman. You feel like, I don't know, that's what I get from it. It feels like the Arkham games for some reason. And then you get to the point where she finally kills all the family. And then she gets shot.
Bum, bum, bum.
She gets shot by the sergeant that she kept calling on the phone. And then we find out that this was not actually the family. It was the hazmat team.
Mm-hmm.
Which, again, I think is such a great reveal. Then the actual ending before the credits is the Payman family coming, walking up to her and basically saying, we got you.
The way it's shot, though, is it's not just like they appear. I love the fact that it's shot, there's like a flashlight behind them, so you see this like giant yellow orb, and I'm like, at the same time, I'm like, is that supposed to represent like heaven? And then the Paymans are like stepping in front and being like, like, you're mine.
Like, your soul's now here.
Yeah, yeah, representing like, no, you're not going there. You're stuck here too.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
And then credits.
I like there's one part with the dispatcher, where he's on the line. He's like, lady, all the Paymans, they're under surveillance. Cause she's trying to like be like, oh no, like there's a Payman here. The hobo. We never touched point on the hobo.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know if you noticed this though. The hobo looks like the older version of the Manson.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think that's literally what the hobo is there for, is just to be like, hey, he's coming. I think it's they're pretty introductory to him. Because he's the one that gets, locked up and stuff. But
yeah, he gets locked up in the holding cell with the family.
Mm-hmm.
There's a part with that hobo too where she leaves boots outside. And I don't know just showing that she's nice.
Yeah, showing she has some kindness.
Yeah. Like
humanity or whatnot towards him. I think that was the riff on like Cops thing where it's like, she's not that bad of a cop.
Yeah. During
the time, I guess.
All right, so last shift, Kayla. What are you gonna give last shift?
Last shift, I think on my radar, it's a 4 or 4.5 out of 5. I absolutely love this movie. Like I said, I've seen this movie 4 or 5 different times now, and every time I watch it, like I can watch this movie without covering my eyes because I'm a macho woman, but it still gets me. I still jump.
Mm-hmm.
There's one part where it's like every single time I'm like I jump off the couch. But I love it. I love movies that could continuously do that. It's not just a one time you get, that one scare. This is like Insidious for me, where it still gets under my skin. Insidious does. It does get under my skin, too. I give it a 4 out of 5. The only reason I wouldn't give it a 5 out of 5 is the one scene with the lady outside. I think it's very unnecessary. And the fact that it's not...
I like that it's in one location, but again, maybe with more money, they're going to explore other locations and the backstory and stuff. But 4 out of 5, I think that's pretty dang solid.
I like the one location.
Yeah, it works for a low-budget movie like this.
Well, not even like... I don't know. When there's too much going on, you're distracted by everything else going on. And I enjoy the aspect of this one is like, no. You're going to focus on the shit I'm showing you.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to focus on every goddamn thing or, looking in the corners for crap, which is another great thing because this whole building is extremely lit up.
Mm-hmm.
There's no spooky hiding in the shadow shit in this movie. Which is, it's chef kiss. It's amazing.
Mm-hmm. Last Shift, recommended by both of us. Go check it out if you haven't. Yeah, it's one of those underrated movies of the last decade.
Agreed. Definitely underrated.
All right, well, that's it.
Woo!
We did it. Woohoo!
I miss you, Sam.
We miss you, Sam. I was just going to give a woohoo like Scooby-Doo, just for Sam. We did it, but next time Sam will be back. I'll at least announce what the topic is. It's not a secret now. We're going to be talking Scream 6 next episode. When that comes out, we're going to see whose prediction was correct between me and Sam. What?
I did not think you were going to talk about that.
Scream 6?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Jennifer's body.
Well, spoilers on the movie me and Sam are going to talk about. That's not the topic.
Just cut that out.
No, we're keeping it. We're gonna... Yeah, Jennifer's Body was the movie we watched, and we'll debate next time, me and Sam. But yeah, Scream 6, we're going to be doing that movie as a double feature with another New York-based horror movie, Jason Takes Manhattan. So, we're going to have Ghostface take Manhattan while Jason does too. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, have fun with that.
I will. Yeah, I think that's it. I'm going to steal this because otherwise I'm going to forget some of this stuff because Sam usually does this.
Should invite me back on?
Absolutely. Sam,
bye.
Go away more often. I'm kidding. No,
Bye.
Sam, don't. We'll do it again. I have me and Sam do this every time where we pitch ideas on the air. An idea I have is to have you and me do a show with Sam and Maria.
Let's do a battle of the movies.
Yeah, we'll do a horror couple battle. I don't know what.
Or March of Madness.
Yeah. Family Feud with horror. I don't know. We'll find something to do. I'll get to the plugs for the show quick. You can subscribe to Screams from the Basement on Apple, Spotify, Google, Stitcher, and on Anchor. And then you can follow our social channels wherever you follow people on the internet. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, that thing. We might try TikTok. Kayla needs to show up, me and Sam, because we're old farts how to do that.
I'll teach you the ways of the Tic.
The ways of the Tic Tacs. But yeah, that's it.
This is fun.
Uh-huh. Thank you for filling in for Sam.
Of course, I'll never be a Sam. I'm so sorry.
No one is Sam, though.
I cannot fill those great shoes.
That's a scary thing to try to fill. It's being Sam. No. We miss you, buddy. We will have you. Obviously, we'll have him back. Jeez, why would I say that? It's half of his show. He's
never coming back.
He's the Sam in the Screams to the Basement with Sam and Casey, but he's in spirit. I might be a spirit after next episode when we talk about Jennifer's Body. He might turn me into a spirit. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I'll look for your obituary.
Yeah, you'll probably find it buried next to Jennifer's Body. But until next time, I'm Casey.
And I am Kayla.
And I gotta remember what our sign off actually is. Do you want to do it?
No.
Okay, I'll do it. Well, for Screams from the Basement, thanks for tuning in, and sweet screams.
You're listening to the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, home to hundreds of hours of free podcast entertainment. The shows on this network all have a common goal: providing you with the best discussions about movies and other forms of entertainment media. The PFPN hopes to fill your earholes with audio joy. Visit our website with links to all the other amazing shows at www.thepfpn.com. Thanks for listening.